Welcome everyone to the National Institute of Statistical Sciences virtual career fair event. Today, we will hear from 4 people in the insurance and finance field regarding job opportunities and the role statisticians and data scientists have. We will finish our session with questions and answers. If you have questions for our speakers, please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom window. I will communicate your question to the presenters during the Q&A portion of the program. Our first speaker today is Nathan Lally. Nathan is an AVP of Data Science at Hartford Steam Boiler, where he leads a team working on underwriting, pricing, IoT, and other modeling projects. Prior to working at HSB, he worked in engineering statistics at Pratt & Whitney as a data scientist at the Hartford Insurance Group, and also has taught Introduction to Biostatistics for Health Professionals as an adjunct instructor at the University of Connecticut. In his spare time, Nathan works on actuarial research topics, presenting papers at the annual Actuarial Research Conference on predictive modeling in long-term care insurance, spatiotemporal modeling of damages to electrical infrastructure, and Bayesian non-parametric methods for loss reserving. Nathan holds undergraduate degrees in political science and mathematical statistics from the University of Connecticut, as well as an MS in mathematics. Let's welcome Nathan.
Thank you very much for the introduction. All right. Do I need to share my screen or you have my slides up there? Sorry. I'll share my own.
Yeah, you can share them, Nathan.
All right. Okay, thank you. So as introduced, I'm Nathan Lally. I'm an AVP of Data Science at HSB, which is part of Munich Re Group. And of course, I'm here to talk today about being a statistician or data scientist in the insurance industry at large and HSB and Munich Re in particular. So as already stated in my bio, just a little about me. I actually started off my career doing almost nothing to do with mathematics and statistics. I studied political science, graduating in 2007. I studied Spanish and anthropology. I thought I would have nothing to do with mathematics or statistics in my future. But when I started actually my career, I began working at a defense contractor, General Dynamics. It's a big one for those of you who aren't familiar, one of the bigger ones. And I ended up doing industrial engineering work, essentially process improvement work. And there I was exposed to experimental design and process control and these things that statisticians are interested in. And I decided at that point that I was going to leave that job and go back to school for mathematics and statistics full-time. And so I did that, and it was a little nerve-wracking because I was already 4 or 5 years into my career. But it's something that I do not regret at all because I loved mathematics and statistics, and it's really paid dividends in my career. So I went on to complete an undergrad in mathematics with a subconcentration in statistics, followed by a master's in mathematics. And since then, I've worked at the Hartford in a data science team there. I've worked at Pratt & Whitney doing they build jet engines as a statistician there. And finally, now I'm at HSB and Munich Re. And in my spare time, I'm also quite involved in the statistical community where I'm a vice president for education at the New England Statistical Society. So if anyone has any questions about NES, feel free to ask as well. All right, so a little bit more about where I work and what exactly it is that I do and what my team does. So first of all, I work at Hartford Steam Boiler, which is kind of a funky name. And indeed, we do actually still work with steam boilers. We insure them and we inspect them and all sorts of things. But HSB was founded quite a long time ago, as you can see, on June 30th in 1866 as one of the first companies dedicated to industrial safety. So what was happening? People had steam boilers. Steam boilers were exploding. This is a bad thing. People died and get injured. And so there was a need for bringing some discipline into this industry. And so HSB started their business model on inspecting and maintaining steam boilers to prevent industrial accidents. From there, it was natural to move into insurance. And today, HSB offers insurance for equipment breakdown. So this is largely commercial and industrial, but also for the home. Cyber risk, data breach, identity recovery, and employment practices liability. And we also have some other specialty lines too. So there's a lot of stuff we have going on. In addition to our insurance lines, we also have a line of business called Applied Technology Solutions, where we seek to leverage IoT to deliver unique risk management solutions, which also tie into our insurance products. And finally, HSB has a parent company, which is Munich Re Group, which is the world's largest reinsurance firm, and they operate globally. And for those of you who don't know, but reinsurance is basically insurance for other insurance companies, so often covering excess loss layers, so very large losses that no one company could sustain themselves. So it's a hedging technique. And you can see in my picture here, I have beautiful downtown Hartford. That's actually our building there, kind of the one that's sticking up the tallest, the office building with all the windows in the front on 1 State Street. And then here on the left, I have this is actually a castle that Munich Re owns. So now the offices that statisticians are working in are not in the castle, it's an event center. But anyway, just thought that was cool, so I stuck it in there. All right, so what exactly do I do and what is my team? So as I said, I'm an assistant vice president of data science, and my team actually focuses largely on non-pricing analytics. So I'm going to get into a little bit about what data scientists and statisticians do in insurance, but my focus is largely underwriting, IoT, claims, and other areas of the business aside from pricing. Although when I was working as a data scientist, I used to actually specialize almost in pricing. So I'm quite familiar with that area. But my team is comprised of 4 full-time data scientists, 2 interns, and I actually have 3 PhD students I work with from the University of Connecticut, and actually 2 faculty members. So we have a sort of a co-op program that we run with them. Which is great and been really rewarding and really fun. Our team's educational background is in statistics, computer science, and now this sort of interdisciplinary field of data science. And most people on our teams have graduate education, either a master's or a PhD. But now we're starting to bring in some entry-level employees who are coming out with Bachelor of Science degrees for different types of jobs. Okay, so what do statisticians and data scientists do in the insurance industry? Again, all sort of from a little bit from a HSB and Munich Re perspective, but just wanted to cover things in general. So most of what statisticians or data scientists do in the insurance industry is act as a consulting group. So we work with business leads in other areas to enable decision-making, like I say, based on sound empiricism. So we do data analysis, we support decision-making, be it in these different organizations here, like underwriting or actuarial, or anywhere else. So just a quick rundown of major sort of areas where you may work as a data scientist. There's underwriting, which is where you evaluate and analyze risks involved in insuring people and assets. Underwriting is actually a field that's undergoing a lot of change right now. The role of underwriters is quite in flux, and there's deep connections with actuarial and data science at the moment. Actuarial is where you look at those risks and you assign financial costs to them. Catastrophe modeling, this is where we model large simultaneously or connected or correlated loss events like natural catastrophes. This is really an important task for understanding improbable but large loss events. Working in claims, so claims is where you determine how much a company should pay for a loss. So I'm sure many of us have experience on the other side here of claims. Finance and risk management, so how to optimally manage your capital and importantly ensure sufficient holdings to cover rare adverse events. Digital marketing, is another area where a lot of statisticians and data scientists are working today. And then just to talk about something a little unique to HSB and Munich Re, we also have our engineering services group, like I said, which performs inspections. They research insurable assets, so new things we might want to start covering. They perform loss control functions, and they also inform other business units about the types of assets that we're covering. And finally, we have Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is kind of this nebulous term, but basically we put sensors on stuff. So, and these sensors communicate with each other, and they send data back over a network, and a lot can be done with this data. And finally, I'm mentioning that I said generally statisticians or data scientists act as consultants in insurance companies, but there might be some change forming. So now my team and other teams also have a mandate to start thinking about how we might generate data products and services ourselves to provide for our clients. Again, in my case, our clients are insurance companies. So how can we monetize data, assets, and other intellectual property? So there's actually, we're getting more involved in product decision making these days. All right, I just wanted to give a couple quick examples of some data science projects that we've done at HSP. This first one here is something called our location risk score model. So in this example, we take a bunch of our historical, what we call exposure data, but exposure data is really just describing the thing that's being insured. And loss data, historical loss data, so the claims that occurred at these locations that we have. When I say location, I'm talking about businesses mostly here. And we build models to understand the risk of a claim occurring at these locations and also how much it will cost. And to do this, we're actually using statistical non-parametrics. We're using gradient boosting in this case, and actually we're examining some other methodologies at the moment. But it's also important to know that this is quite a big process where we're not just taking the data that we receive from our client companies, but we're augmenting this data with many third-party sources. So we end up with quite a wide data set, if you will. So variable selection and all this becomes quite important. And yeah, then the model spits out, like I said, a risk score, which describes the equipment breakdown risk at a given location. And we provide all sorts of intelligence to our clients. So be it them, the risk scores themselves, we slice and dice, as they like to say, the risk scores by different features that our clients care about. And we also provide AI explainer tools. I'm sorry, I see there's a question. Oh, maybe we can, should I answer this now or hold to the end? Actually, I'm probably gonna answer that particular question momentarily anyway. All right, moving on. Another example, this is in our IoT business. Maybe we can have some follow-up where I talk about this in a little bit more detail. But for one of our IoT programs, we have something called a freeze loss monitoring program, where it's actually quite simple in theory. We're putting sensors in businesses where there is risk of pipe freeze. So obviously when a pipe freezes, water expands and the pipe can burst. And then there could be a big bunch of water in your basement or whatever and a loss. So we're providing sensors that monitor temperature, internal and external in certain locations, and provide warnings if we believe that freeze loss is imminent. These are expert system algorithms. They're pretty simple. They're just looking at temperatures below certain thresholds, rates of change, and a few other factors to provide warnings. The problem is for us, however, that we really want to motivate the end insured's behavior in this case is to go turn up temperature. Sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't, but even worse, sometimes they don't acknowledge our alerts. So we're sending them an SMS, we're sending them an indication in an app, a mobile app, and very often they fail to say whether they've done something or not, which is a problem because we demonstrate value to our clients, again, other insurance companies, when we can motivate behavioral changes to avoid losses. And we know that sometimes even if someone isn't acknowledging the alert, they're actually doing something. Sometimes they are, in fact, turning the temperature up. Sometimes they're not, but we want to just better understand, how we're influencing behavioral changes with our interventions, the interventions being alert. And so while we're trying to provide more incentives for people to respond to our outreach, we know that just because of human behavior, some people won't. And so what we did is we actually built using causal AI or causal machine learning, we built models that we can use to infer from the data alone from these time series, internal and external temperature, whether someone took action after one of our alerts. And you actually can see, I have an example here on the top where it looks like someone did indeed take action. And then I have something where we're calculating what's actually called this causal impact parameter down here. This is actually an example where someone didn't take action. Anyway, this is a really fun project, and hopefully, there might be more questions about this later, and I can go into more detail. All right, so getting into how you as students can prepare for insurance or data science careers, data science or statistics careers. So in my opinion, the core competencies of a data scientist or a statistician working in insurance are no surprise to most of you here, statistics and machine learning. I would say that in the insurance industry, we have an above average expectation for you to understand mathematical statistics and probability theory. We're doing a lot of slightly more complex work on that front than a lot of companies that are just kind of applying purely predictive models. This is especially on the actuarial pricing side, where you're dealing with all sorts of funky data that's under truncation and censoring and these sorts of things. You have to understand the manipulations of random variables and all these things. It's really important to understand generalized linear models and generalized additive models, because these are used in the pricing practice due to their explainability. At my company, time series analysis is important, given our IoT business. Of course, statistical learning, deep learning, these things are being used in predictive modeling all over the insurance industry. And causal inference. This is obviously used in that IoT application I showed, but also in marketing and things like that. Next, I would say business knowledge, right? And this is something you'll be acquiring mostly on the job. This is not something we expect graduate students to have, but we expect sort of rapid upskilling in this domain. So you should gain an understanding of product design, principles of underwriting, how to do pricing, insurance regulation, and financial management. And then finally, one thing I would add, and I think this is actually really important for statisticians, because this isn't something that we're covering so much in our education, but this is the engineering side of things. So data engineering and DevOps or MLOps, right? So software engineering is becoming really important, and a statistician or data scientist who understands both their core skills and a little bit of software engineering is really, really valuable, because you need to take the work that you do and actually put it into production and automate things. Okay. Just really quickly run through career paths at HSP or Munich Re. We have 5 levels of data scientist. We have our entry level, which is associate data scientist, which is appropriate for undergraduates. And then the 2 levels where students would be coming in at would be data scientist, which we require entry level or two or so years of experience and a master's in a quantitative field. And then senior data scientist, which wouldn't be open to most new grads, but some, especially those with PhDs and research experience and postdocs who qualify. And then finally, we have principal data scientist and data science lead. And the thing that really distinguishes the data science lead is they're still an individual contributor, but they lead a small team on technical projects. So they have some direct reports. And then finally, I just wanted to let everyone know that we're hiring. So actually on my team, I have 1 senior data scientist position open right now. Again, this would be appropriate for a PhD student with very solid research experience and maybe a postdoc and some internships. But also, I just wanted to let everyone know that we're going to have 2 to 3 other positions open soon on both my data science team and our pricing data science team. And some of those will be entry level. So please feel free to reach out to me at Nathan_Lally@hsb.com if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Nathan. Let's see. Very informative presentation. Our next speakers are from Liberty Mutual Insurance, and they are Anna Dye and Daniel McCarthy. Anna is a data scientist currently working at Liberty Mutual Insurance. She works in the Boston office and has been with Liberty for 2 years. Anna specializes in solving problems using both traditional statistical methods and machine learning algorithms. At Liberty, she focuses on building and deploying predictive models to support the company's commercial lines claims and actuarial teams. She has provided comprehensive data analysis and built several machine learning models to improve the efficiency of the claims handling process. Anna is passionate about leveraging data science to reduce the organization's cost and to optimize the claims experience for Liberty's customers. In addition, she is interested in applying natural language processing techniques and deep learning algorithms to solve business problems. Anna holds a PhD in statistics. Dan is a senior campus recruiter at Liberty Mutual Insurance. He is aligned to our graduate internship program team, where he recruits both master's and PhD students. Dan has been with Liberty Mutual since 2019. Let's welcome Anna and Dan.
Thank you so much. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you, Anna. Cool. So let's talk a little bit more about Liberty Mutual. We thought it might be helpful if we just gave a quick introduction, a little bit more flavor to those bios prepared by Susan. So as mentioned, my name is Dan McCarthy, and I'm a senior campus recruiter here at Liberty Mutual, and I'm aligned to our data science internship program. So one really cool thing is I actually worked in insurance for about 5 years. I left the insurance industry and I said, I really, really want to get back into the insurance industry. So I was actually really fortunate enough to join the campus recruiting team in 2018. And I've been supporting our data scientists for over 3 years now. And one thing about the data scientists at Liberty Mutual is that they're just like the best people ever. They're super friendly, they're super knowledgeable, they're super nice. And I just feel very fortunate. And Anna is someone that I've worked pretty closely with over the last 3 years. So very excited to have her join us as well today. And then in terms of like why and like, why I decided to join Liberty Mutual and, the reasons why, I've been, here for so long is that like when you join an insurance company, I think one thing is that like, our mission is to help people. And what you typically find is that that sort of mindset also is shared across our employees, right? So everyone here is like super friendly, super helpful. They want to see everyone do well. And they're just like always open to like connect and like help you understand things from like a much larger scale. Also, Liberty does like a really great job with like professional development. So, we're a big company. We have a lot of different types of roles. And what I like to say is for, a risk adverse company, we do take a lot of like risks internally on people. If you're a strong performer and you're doing well. And really at Liberty, I think you can find that you can have like a really like great like work fulfillment. Every day is a little bit different over here. And it's definitely really exciting. And one reason I really love it is I'm helping to like build the talent pipeline for data scientists of the future because they play such like a key and strategic role here at Liberty Mutual. So with that being said, I'm happy to hand it over to Anna. Anna was actually, when I joined in 2019, one of the first interns we've hired. So I haven't seen her in a few years, but it's always good to see her face now. So Anna, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dan. So hi, everyone. My name is Chen Jing, or you can also call me Anna, like Dan did. And so I am a data scientist currently working at Liberty Mutual Insurance. And I have been with Liberty for about 2 years now. A little background about myself. I graduated from Oklahoma State University with my PhD in statistics. And before that, I got my bachelor's degree in statistics from China. And of course, you do not need to be majored in statistics to become a data scientist. And I did my summer internship at Liberty in 2019. And then I feel like I got the return offer, and I feel like I really enjoy my time at Liberty, and I have learned so much. So I returned back after my graduation. And so here I have listed 3 major reasons why I choose to work at Liberty. And the first reason is because of the collaborative culture at Liberty. So data scientists here are always encouraged to share their knowledge and also network with other data scientists. Within the data science community, you can always find someone that have the same research or business interest as you, and you can always collaborate with them on different projects. So I think this is a very good environment for you to grow and also help others to grow. And the second reason is because of the impactful projects here. So coming from the academia, most of the problems we have worked on is more about like theories or all kind of like experiments. But working at Liberty, you will be exposed to different business problems, and you can always find opportunities to use the analytical skills you gained at school to solve the business problems and really make impacts for the business and also customers. So I think this is really meaningful, and this is part that attracts me most, like to work at Liberty. And the third reason is because of the growth mindset, because Liberty always emphasizes the importance of growing in the data science community. And that's why you will always find the application of state-of-art techniques at Liberty. You will always have opportunity to apply the most advanced techniques in different problems. So I think this is really good for the growth of the data scientists. So yeah, here is a very brief overview of my experience, and I will share more details about the projects we are doing here at Liberty in the end. Now I will hand the presentation back to Dan.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, so we thought it might be helpful before, I know everyone probably wants to hear from Anna, a real life data scientist, but we thought it might be helpful to give a little bit of context in terms of like Liberty Mutual, the company, a little bit more about our culture, and also like data science career opportunities. So I just want to take a few minutes to talk through that a little bit more. So really what we like to tell students is that in an uncertain world, there's a lot to be said working at a Fortune 100 company with a long track record of growth. So Liberty's actually been around for over 100 years, and we're actually currently 71st on the Fortune 100 list. I think one thing that takes a lot of students and full-time professionals by surprise is just like we're actually bigger than some organizations like Starbucks, Netflix, and even Nike. And then in terms of like where we operate within the insurance industry, we're the 6th largest global property and casualty insurer and the 3rd largest US property and casualty insurer. And really, if you like hear like our CEO or executive leaders talk about our goals as a company, one of our top goals is to become a top 3 global P&C insurer. And really like our data science and analytics teams play like a really instrumental part in helping us achieve that goal. And then in terms of how big we are, so we actually have over 45,000 employees from across the world that work at Liberty Mutual. So our global headquarters is in Boston in the Back Bay, but we actually have operations in 30 different countries and 900 offices in total. So we didn't break down every single office located in the United States, but we do have a lot of offices that employees work from. And as things become a little bit more like remote and virtual, we have a lot of employees throughout the US as well. In terms of like our data science community, I would say like the majority are primarily based in our Boston headquarters, and then we also have a presence out in Seattle as well. But as I mentioned before, our data scientists will also work out of offices in Plano, Texas, Chicago, and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of geographical options that you can explore from a data scientist role. And then Liberty is also really proud to be recognized by some of these amazing organizations, such as like Forbes, the Human Rights Campaign, and Fortune 100 for being recognized as the best employer for diversity, women's, vets, and the LGBTQ community. Some awards that we win consistently that we're always very proud of is that we continue to win like Forbes Best Employers for Women, and continually to win Best Places to Work for new graduates as well. In the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about our career opportunities, but we do place like a very heavy investment and emphasis into our internship programs because that way it's a great talent pipeline for us. And then we want to make sure that we're providing you like real life work that a data scientist would do, but also exposing you to like Liberty Mutual and its culture and things like that. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about like career opportunities and things like that. So really, I know like on this call, there might be some students currently enrolled or some people that might have recently graduated. So I just wanted to take some time to talk a little bit more about the differences. So every summer, and this is a little bit more what I do on a day-to-day basis, is that we have a graduate data science internship program. So what we do is we hire between 20 to 25 master and PhD level candidates from across the nation to join us as a data science intern. So what we do is we actually have over 200 full-time data scientists that work at Liberty Mutual, and they support different business units. So that can range from sales, finance, legal, HR, claims, product innovation, all these different areas that make up Liberty Mutual. And each team works on like a very, I guess you could say they all work on either different like statistical or data science techniques to really derive value for like their stakeholder groups that they work with. So we have a very, very wide range of projects that interns can get involved in. And I know Anna will talk a little bit more about some of the work that our data scientists do, but it's great. It's it's a purely like more of like a predictive modeling type internship where you're not only going to get some great hands-on experience working in a team, but then also building like those soft skills as well, because our data scientists are really seen as like superheroes or like consultants to our business, where they're working with large amounts of data to help really make informed decisions and really help propel our business moving forward. So in terms of like what we look for the internship, one thing to note is that we actually have closed the internship for this upcoming summer. But with that being said, we will start our recruitment for 2023, if we're looking down the road, in the fall. So please be on the lookout if you're interested in the session to you can actually go onto our website and log in for like notifications and things like that to be on the lookout for that internship next fall. And really what we look for is like we hire a wide variety of backgrounds that come from those master's or PhD programs. I would definitely say that there's a heavy focus on finding awesome like statistical individuals and candidates for the internship, but we also do hire across some other varied backgrounds. I would definitely say like in terms of like what we look for is like you have some predictive modeling experience, familiar working in R, Python, or even SAS. And what we do is we match interns to projects where we think it's going to be a really good fit for not only their professional development and growth, but also the business need at the time. So like I said, we'll be recruiting for that in the fall timeframe if you're interested in an internship. So usually those are like first year master level candidates, or you could be a first, second, third, or fourth year PhD as well. And really our internships are used as like pipelines to convert full time like Anna did. So you join us for the summer, you have a great experience, then we're able to present you with a full-time offer. So after you conclude your graduate programs, you can join us full time. And really with the internship, as I mentioned, you'll get some really great data science exposure, but then also too, we do a lot of like programming activities. So we have like different teams of data scientists present to our interns. We do a lot of like fun like networking events, things like that. So it's a very busy internship, but I think it gives you a really good taste for our culture and the type of work you could do as a full-time data scientist. And then Liberty Mutual, I would honestly say like we're always hiring data scientists. So if you find yourself in a situation that you've like graduated, recently graduated or going to be graduating, or maybe even you have a few years of experience under your belt right now, we have a lot of different opportunities for you to explore. So I guess like as what I could possibly do is like drop a link that has like our data science job openings right now. And really with that is like, we hire a lot of different backgrounds. Typically what we see is like our entry-level data scientist role is called an analyst one, where we typically find like, it could be like a newly graduated master's student, maybe they have a few years of experience under their belt. And then with an analyst two, that's like a step up where we typically see a lot of like our PhD intern conversion step into. So be on the lookout for those types of roles if you are interested. And like I said, I'm happy to share a little bit more through a link of like those available job openings as well. Cool. Okay. So last slide from me before we pass it over to Anna. So as I mentioned earlier, we have those 200 full-time data scientists that work at Liberty Mutual, and they all support those different business units, right? So really in order to, I guess like have more of like a sense of community and like a holistic feel for data science, we have what's called our data science professional resource group. And what's really cool about the data science professional resource group, also known as the DSPRG, is that it's volunteers from our data science teams that really come together on these different work streams to really push forward the culture, the business, like professional development and like learning opportunities at Liberty Mutual. So there's a few different like areas that we really focus on here at Liberty Mutual. So like community and culture is like really big. Every year we have like a data science town hall forum over the course of like 3 or 4 days where different teams present out to each other. They can learn a little bit more about like different technical things that are going on, cross-share knowledge, things like that. We participate in a lot of different like external events to make sure that you're staying on top of the newest developments in technology and things like that. And really at Liberty Mutual, like career development is like a cornerstone of our company. So what I mean by that is that, since we have such like a large data science org, what you typically find is a lot of people that are able to like move from team to team and be able to like, build a robust skills, just because we have over, 200 full-time data scientists and a lot of teams that we work on here. And what's really cool about the career development portion is that we also have these like short-term assignments where with like the permission of your manager, say a team needs help for like 3 or 4 months, you're able to join that team, like, pick up some new skill sets, see how that team operates. And then say if there's an opening that comes up in the future, you're, you have a little bit of, background in that area and help propel your career that way. And really, like, our data scientists at Liberty Mutual, they're really making an impact. So as I mentioned, they work very closely with our stakeholders here, and they're able to really help the company move forward, as I mentioned earlier. So that's pretty much all I wanted to just talk a little bit about from like the community, the culture, and the hiring, and obviously happy to answer any questions that might come up through the chat later. Cool. So I am now happy to pass it back to Anna.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Yeah, thanks for all the overview of the data science opportunities here at Liberty. Yeah, at Liberty, data scientists will always have opportunities to do what participate in a project that you are really interested in. There are Stan's program and also share and learn sessions, and also it's very easy to transfer from team to team. So it's really, there are a lot of opportunities here. So here I'd like to talk about some sample projects that we are doing here at Liberty. So data science is actually used across our entire business. And when you think about the insurance industry, data and analytics is really what we are founded on. And some sample questions that our business ask include which risks should I write and how much should I charge for it? Is there a broker that I can forge a relationship with? Or where should we spend our advertisement budget? And how much will a claim will eventually cost us? All these are questions that we need to decide on. And here at Liberty, we do it by using data. So here are a list of sample projects that data scientists have worked on in the past, and also some different modeling techniques that are used in those projects. A few exciting areas include that involve AI and also applying data science with new technology is project telematics and aerial imaging. So here the telematics is a project where we use deep learning models to analyze the telematic data so we can better understand the driver's behavior. With a better understanding, we will be able to ask for a more reasonable price based on the driver's behavior. And the aerial imaging is about a project that we use neural networks or deep learning approach to predict the probability of having an overhanging trees over our customers' properties based on the photos of their house or house roof. So these are two example projects where we apply AI and the data science techniques to help the customers to to improve the customer's experience, and also help ourselves to detect risk and avoid the unnecessary cost. So these are the two example projects, and we also apply the data science techniques to talent analytics. Each year we will have summer interns, and when we are matching the interns to a specific team, we can also use modeling techniques to help us to find a good matching between the team and talents. And we also use machine learning models in distribution and sales and also claims. And myself, I just mentioned in the bio, I worked in the analytics team that support the claims team. And in the claims team, we have all types of problems to solve. And usually there are a lot of flexibility for us to choose the models we want to use based on the data. So to summarize, at Liberty, here we use different types of data, including the structured data we usually see they are usually like organized in a table that is very structured. And we also use unstructured data, including text information and also the image and photos. So all these information and data are used in our models to help us to like improve the customer's experience. And even our interns also have the opportunities to work with different advanced techniques. Some example techniques that our past interns have worked like using, including the natural language processing techniques, text mining, geospatial smoothing, multitask learning, and also optimization models. So you can tell, like here we at Liberty we use a lot of like different techniques to solve the business problems, and this is actually like one area the students often find surprising because like they cannot like imagine like at Liberty we are using so many different techniques, but yeah, this is it. It is, and so if you are interested in the data science opportunities in at Liberty, you should like check out our career page, and I believe that you will find something you'll find interesting. Yeah. So I think that with that said, I mean, that's all we want to cover for the presentation. And at the end, we will also take some questions.
Thank you, Anna and Dan. Our final speaker today is Siddhartha Dalal from Columbia University. Sid has made numerous contributions in the field of data sciences and services with over 100 co-authored publications, including 4 monographs and several patents covering the areas of data mining and machine learning, statistics, risk analytics, econometrics, software, and network engineering. He is a recipient of 4 Best Paper awards by well-known professional societies. Sid also coined the phrase statistical software engineering and was co-author of the NRC report of the same name published by the National Academy of Sciences. Welcome, Sid.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate very much. I was part of AIG before I joined Columbia, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the experiences I've had in terms of the insurance industry. I hope all of you can hear me. And so let me just give you a little bit of broader perspective. I was a senior vice president and chief data scientist at AIG, one of the largest insurance company in the world, having hundreds and hundreds of data scientists, statisticians, and actuaries all over the world. So just looking at all of those from different vantage, I just want to give you a little bit of broader idea. Nathan and Dan and Anna did a terrific job describing internal workings of insurance companies, and I think that exists at AIG also. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about more broader perspective, and then going down to the details of 3 specific examples. So let me start off here with just talking a little bit about what is insurance. Insurance is all about basically having insured risk. We are insuring risk, and ultimately that brings premium, and that ultimately gets into investment. And of course, anytime you insure anything, you're going to have liabilities for future, which you have to pay off. And of course, those liabilities have to be paid off from the investment, which will get into liquidity itself. So you can imagine that how the whole world of insurance works in terms of how the driving is done and what is being done. And everywhere we need things related to statistics. So let me just give you a little bit of an idea about what actually are the typical lines of business in insurance. Obviously, property, which a number of you already covered here. And then there is casualty, which is related to all kinds of liability insurance of various types. And then, of course, you have got consumer insurance, which is life and retirement and other kind of things. And of course, you have got specialty insurance, including cybersecurity and ransomware and other kind of things, and aerospace and so on. So you can just imagine thinking about that there are multiple pillars of an insurance just from taking off the risk itself. If you want to think about it, insurance is all about ultimately measured risk taking by spreading across a pool of risk itself. And as you know already from our preliminary courses in statistics that the more policy you have, the standard deviation about the mean goes down substantially. So it's all about pooling. As you start pooling the risk, then in that case, the probability of a payout can be comparatively easier to determine itself. And the critical elements from our perspective, obviously, is that what are the scenarios by which we might have to pay out? Then we need to have data collection of various types. And obviously this data collection has to go to probabilities, which gets converted in underwriting, what is the risk, and ultimately how much to write and how much to diversify and so on. And it of course depends upon now behavior of the insured people itself. And then of course you have got investment portfolios. So I'm going to talk a little bit about all of this, and data science and statistics play a key role in all of this. And I'm counting actuarial also as a part of it. But there are newer techniques which are emerging. Just to let you know that insurance industry is changing substantially today. There are actually newer insurance companies which are coming out today with newer ideas. And actually I've been involved in starting one of the major companies which is supplying all kinds of intelligence to various insurance companies. So I'll talk a little bit about that starting out. One of the critical part, at least I want to emphasize, which is always important, is that data collection is an important part of all of this. And having correct data is a critical part. Data cleaning, data wrangling, all of those techniques which are involved are very, very critical in all of this. And I started my life with an example of the Challenger space shuttle disaster, where I was greatly involved with it. And it turned out that Challenger crashed principally because there was incorrect data which was analyzed the night before the launch, and consequently wrong decisions were being made, and ultimately Challenger crashed, which is one of the largest risks which NASA and this nation went through. Let me start off a little bit about what are the, so I've been in charge of the whole science related to AIG Corporation and other places I have worked before. And the key part is that obviously, as already Nathan and Anna talked about, is there is a whole bunch of unconventional data, which includes text, images, videos, audios, sensors, and so on. And the key part is that how do we use that in terms of reduction of risk, or at least assessment of the risk itself. So for example, can we predict how soon a worker will be off disability? Disability is a type of insurance. How often, how soon would a worker be off? That's a critical part. So we have got all kinds of medical records, and ultimately we have to be able to determine how much is the risk here at all. Is there any merit in the case? There are lots of lawsuits which are being filed against insurance company for a variety of reasons, all the way from class action lawsuits to an individual consumer lawsuits. Is there any merit in the case which has been filed? What is the probability of, if we were to go and fight, then in that particular case, what is the probability of winning a lawsuit? So there are all kinds of really interesting opportunities which arises in terms of text related data. So let me start with my first example here itself, which was very, very interesting example, which is related to casualty insurance, which is casualty insurance is all about related to liabilities of various types, which are coming. And the example which I started was related to chemical tort cases. So there are all kinds of chemicals which are entering marketplace at a very fast rate, and many before the adverse effects are known. The classic example is, of course, asbestos, which costed hundreds of thousands of people died just in the shipyards of where asbestos was being used around the world itself. And it costed within US alone, $85 billion in terms of the liability, and $42 billion just in terms of the environmental risk itself. So the question was that, can we, and then new chemicals are coming constantly. Is there any way to identify what chemicals are going to be dangerous or not? And people traditionally depended upon FDA and NIOSH and so on and so forth, but they take a long, long time before they determine anything. And we needed to ensure insurance industry itself. So the question challenging was that how can we do this? And we could go and look at each chemical at a time. Instead, we decided that we were going to really do a major thing where we're going to look at all the chemicals we can imagine, which are likely to come up and which are already there in practice. So we looked at 80,000 chemicals, and there are all kinds of harms which can come, which may have to do with lungs, which may have to do with kidney, which may have to do with a variety of other things, including diseases of various types and so on and so forth. So how can we think about all of this? So we decided that what we were going to do is not just look at the social media side where somebody says something has happened because of this thing, but we really wanted to basically look at all academic published paper in PubMed, which is the largest library of all the medical journals itself. And there are something like 20 million articles in PubMed alone. So the question was, can we do this and combine this and create new technologies and so on and so forth? And we actually came up with a number of publications, patents, and everything else, and actually started a company based on that, which is quite successful in California. And I was one of the founding members and the board member itself. I just want to point out a few things which came out of it. So for example, one of the ones which you already might know is bisphenol A in terms of the bottles which were used so far and has been actually still legally allowed in some places, but has been banned in other places. And it turned out that it causes reproductive diseases related to reproductive systems. And we could see it from 1994, when we look at Vantage back from 1994, it was obvious that that was going to be very high risk. Another classic example, I have mentioned a number of examples here, but another classic example is nothing but something related to popcorn. So when you smell this butter, when you go in microwave and smell the butter, that's not actually butter. There is a chemical called diacetyl. And this diacetyl turns out to be dangerous in terms of lung itself. And clearly, these are the kind of things which we wanted to identify risk, and then we can decide whether to underwrite, not underwrite, how much premium to charge, and so on. And this company is called Predicate, and it's actually issuing this kind of thing as a service to many insurance companies across the world. So this was my first example. Let me mention second example, which I think Anna also referred to, which is related to aerial photography. So this is an example. In 2012, we had a major hurricane on the East Coast called Sandy. And we decided that before Sandy came, we wanted to determine how much is the total reserve we'll have to set aside for dangers which were coming out because of Sandy striking US East Coast. So here we flew helicopters at that time. And we didn't have drones at that time. So we flew helicopters around. This is Long Island before and after. And then we wanted to compare the pictures in some meaningful manner and ultimately find out to what extent we will have how much is the damage. So we can set aside reserves. We will have to do something to our investment, liquidate them, and all of those. So, and we want to be able to quickly get to our customers and give them a check as soon as possible so they can fix their property. I'll give you actually a quick video here. It was a very interesting one. Was that looking at this photograph, can we do something more than that? So here is a sort of car accident. And can we determine earlier we used to send somebody to inspect the cars and determine what is the damage and so on. The question was that can we determine in some fashion damage in some automatic manner from the photograph? So I just want to show you a demo of a system which we developed around 5 years back. It has been patented by a number of patents. So I just want to show you this here. And let me play this and I'll just show you that here.
We would like to show you how we are using computer vision to automatically detect damage in vehicles from photos that our customers send to us with their auto claims. Suppose a new claim arrives. It is for a white 2012 Audi A5 sports car. It contains 3 images showing the damage to the car from different angles. This is all we need to know to get going. Let's start with the first image. Our first task is to clean the image of background and reflection. In order to remove the background, we use a method that starts by putting a contour around the boundary of the image and moves it until it ends up more or less around the car. For reflection removal, we use a method that filters out low spatial frequencies arising from strong incident light. Having cleaned the image, we next find a reference image to compare it to. The reference image is a photo of an undamaged car of the same make and model that is being taken from the same camera position. To prepare it, we align a 3D model of the car to the damaged car image by translating, rotating, and scaling it as necessary. Once aligned, we take a 2D camera projection of the 3D model. The resulting reference image is shown alongside the damaged car image. Next, we find car parts present in the damaged car image. The reference image tells us which parts we should look for. Let's look for the left fender first. Starting with a small seat contour inside the fender, we grow it until it more or less reaches the boundary of the fender. We repeat this process for each part in front of the image until all of them have been found. Let's now put the segmented damaged car image and the reference image side by side and compare them for significant differences which are likely due to damage. For comparison, we choose a part and move a small rectangle all over it. Within the rectangle, we compute how different their texture, edges, and spatial frequencies are. If the differences cross certain thresholds, we mark the region within the window as damaged. Otherwise, we declare it clean. We do it for each part in turn. Here is the result. On the left, you see the detected damaged regions within red outlines. Due to presence of noise, only if more than a certain percentage of the part is flagged as damaged that we categorize the part as damaged and show it in red on the right. After the other two images in the claim have been processed in the same manner, we combine their results as shown. The computer vision-based automatic damage assessment coincides with what we can see ourselves.
So I just wanted to just show you a little bit about what can be done and what we have done as a part of it, but which is pretty valuable in terms of customer satisfaction. Quickly giving them, if the damage is too low, we'll give them quickly check. If it damage is a lot, then we just give them full value itself. And in between, we might send inspectors of various types. Here is another example, which is related to tornadoes. So tornado damage is very, very critical around many places in the world here itself. So and one of the main way tornado damage occurs is related to the roofs and to what extent the roofs are defective or not defective. So there is actually another video, which I won't have time to show you, but it's very interesting that it has got a lot of analytics built in called vanishing points and how exactly that could be found and how can we figure out whether certain roofs are susceptible to the damage or not. And that could be something we can now think about whenever we do coverage related to a variety of wind damage and so on. So that's another thing I just wanted to mention to you. The couple of more things I wanted to just quickly mention is life and retirement, which is a big business also. And it's sort of an interesting one. That is, one of the questions is, how do we predict mortality with a collection of morbidities? So you can have lots of comorbidities, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and so on and so forth. And the classic example which just has occurred right now is related to COVID here itself. That if you look at COVID, most in New York itself, then most of the deaths had lots of comorbidities which are related to part of it. So to what extent can we determine morbidity and mortality based on the comorbidities in some fashion is a critical challenge. And again, lots of very interesting models which are being used here itself. And the last example I'm going to talk about is that we tend to reinsure quite a bit of our insurance itself. And they are insured by the reinsurance company, or they are sold to the market to hedge funds and so on by what are known as catastrophe bonds. And the catastrophe bonds, obviously, so far as you can see in this picture, that if you look at it, it has outperformed the market. The catastrophe bond will go to value 0 if there is actually risk suffered and substantial amount of losses are occurring. So the challenge is obviously to come up with expected loss and its variability. Again, lots of financial economics and variety of other things related to finance gets into this part of it. So just wanted to just give you a little bit of example of where all of these things are being used. And just wanted to mention that insurance industry itself is going through great restructuring, and the opportunities exist everywhere for newer ideas, newer opportunities. There are companies which have been created just looking at behavior of a consumer. A classic one is called Lemonade, which has just come out in last few years. But there are a number of other companies related to health insurance, Oscar Health Insurance, and so on and so forth. So the world is really, really wide beyond the traditional company. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a broader picture about where the opportunities exist and what you can learn and what kind of newer ideas which are occurring, which is changing the whole world of the universe of insurance itself. So with that, I'm just going to stop, and my time is up, so I'm just going to stop.
All right. Thank you to all of our speakers today and our host. If you have questions for our speakers, please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom window. I will communicate your question to the presenters. We are in the Q&A portion of our program. Oh, okay, good. For a minute there, I thought it was muted. Let me pull up the Q&A questions because we already have a couple. Our first question is, where will the recording of these presentations be made available? Megan or
Hi there.
Jen?
Okay. Once we put out the news story for this event, this will also be included in our website, and that video is linked to our NIST YouTube channel. So it'll be available after this.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Okay. And then let's see, there was one flag. Dan flagged one. Does the data science industry often sponsor visas for international students? And for international students, is it more difficult to receive the offer, both internship and formal recruitment?
Yeah, great question. So I can speak on Liberty Mutual's behalf is that, yes, we do provide sponsorship opportunities for students for both the internship and full-time. And no, it would not necessarily disqualify you or anything like that. But yeah, no, it's a great question.
Nathan, would you like to answer
Yeah,
that?
it's exactly the same answer for HSP and Munich Re. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of demand in this field right now, and so it's a great time for anyone who's seeking to look.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a little bit more to it that besides opportunity within this country, international students can be posted in their own country also, depending upon the offices. So it's really, and in fact, it could be greatly valuable if they were to work here and then transfer to their own countries or whichever countries, then that might even be a really marriage made in heaven, if I may call that as marriage made in heaven.
Yeah, that's true. Because Munich Re has offices all over the world, we've had people that started their careers in the US and then have left for Singapore, China, Australia, Latin America, Spain. So yeah, this is...
In fact, AIG got started in Shanghai, China. So yeah, in around more than 103 years ago. So just to let you know.
Another question is machine learning preferred in the industry? What master's programs are preferred, like a master in statistics or a master's in business analytics?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about this. Maybe Nathan has something to add. So yeah, I think because of the currently we are in the age of data, right? We have a lot of data. So usually the traditional statistical methods may have some assumptions and they work better for limited data size. And so to automate the analysis of a very big size or volume of data, is better to use machine learning models because it will help us to find the hidden patterns like in a more automatic way and faster. So I think, if you look at the job descriptions of data scientists, like in different companies, you will notice that machine learning experience will be preferred to have. So, and I believe that it will be very easy to get access to these kind of projects. So here, if you don't know about it before, so there is a website called Kaggle. So there are a lot of projects, and the companies will go there to post some projects, and you can use their data to do some analysis. So it will be very easy to like gain this kind of experience. So because of this, I think the whether you have ever enrolled in like a relevant program is not a must, because at Liberty Mutual, we have people from very different backgrounds, some of them from civil engineering. As long as you have relevant analytical experience, whether you gain it from some website like Kaggle, or you gain it from research experience, it will be very helpful for you to get a job as a data scientist. Yeah, so that's my feeling. Yeah.
Can I add a little bit here? So I just want to mention a couple of things. One is there are still a division between machine learning. There are people who are still suspicious because they're not explainable. Many of the deep learning models especially are not explainable. So it's sort of interesting that there are places where it's much easier to accept it, and there are places where this whole new area which is emerging called explainable AI is an important part of it. Just to mention, because there are traditional things which if you can't explain, especially when you go to Public Utility Commission, where every insurance company has to go and file a rating. Then for rating and underwriting purposes, they want something which is explainable in some fashion. What happens, what does not happen. So I just want to tell you that don't forget this, or traditional bread and butter kind of things which we learned all the way from variety of things, including regression models and other kind of things, just to mention one. The second thing I just wanted to mention was that we have found, at least in my vantage as a senior vice president looking at many, many different places, I have found that we are very strong technical people and we are very strong business people, but they don't seem to communicate very well. So one of the important parts is business analytics folks are playing a key role in linking these two areas so that they can transfer the knowledge, because otherwise it's very, very hard, because one is saying it one way, other one is saying it other way, and it just passes by that. So I just want to mention that all of those careers which people ask for are really valuable, but they would fit at different places. So that just to let you know.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you have mentioned. And I think as for your first point, actually, it also depends on how people define machine learning, right? Some people also include regression and logistic regression into machine learning field. So if in terms of that, of course, those foundation will also be included into machine learning field. And as for the communication, I think all these programs will be really helpful, but if you really do not have this kind of programs, but you want to break into the data science field, there is still opportunity. You can always gain this kind of communication skills or business knowledge from work, as long as you have keep an open mindset and always keep learning, keep growing. I believe that there will always be opportunity. But if you have the opportunity to take those programs, that will be really helpful. Yeah, I totally agree with professor's opinion. Yeah.
A follow-up question, kind of similar to that one, is would a higher education or more years of work experience be more favored during the hiring process?
Yeah, I could start this one. I would say it really depends on what that work experience encompasses. Sometimes experience can be very positive, right? Especially if it's something very niche to the insurance industry, like say you've worked in a pricing team. That's not something you encounter in your academic work very much. However, if you have, and I don't want to be offensive here, but if you have a lot of experience doing, let's say, kind of light business analytics and visualization and those sorts of things, that might not be so transferable into a more serious data science role. So I guess it really depends, how contemporary and current your experience is, and what your company's doing, right? So if you're at like a much more tech savvy firm, that experience might be very, very valuable and helpful. But if you're not, it could be actually be well, the opposite of helpful, right? So I don't know. I tend to like to have balance between some people fresh out of school coming with new ideas and very well versed in the latest and greatest methods, and then another part of the team that has much more experience with and core insurance business knowledge. So I think a blend is really what most teams need.
I would tend to agree with Nathan. The only thing is it depends upon how senior is the position. So if you're looking for senior data scientists or principal data scientists, then they better have multiple years of experience related to insurance and proven results, which are also part of it, which Nathan just mentioned. Without proven results, it would be hard for people to make a case to hire.
Yep.
Does data science require high skill of computer science? The question is more, do we need to take specific computer science classes to be prepared for this field?
Yeah, so I can also share some opinion on this one. So I think it's not a requirement, but I mean, it will be helpful if you have the computer, like you have some knowledge about the computer, because currently I think most companies are using cloud computing. So like you will have access to distributed computing. So if you have knowledge about the computers, you will be able to better like use the resources more in a more cost efficient way, and also like optimize the performance. And another reason that it is helpful is because like when you are deploying the model to some systems, it will be really helpful for you to like communicate with the engineers you work with, or like help yourself to deploy the model to either internal platform or somewhere else. And I think this is also mentioned in Nathan's slides. So basically, this is like there is a growing demand on this kind of knowledge. So I think it will be really helpful. But you will also have the opportunity to gain it from your work experience. So like when you are really in real world working environment, you will always have opportunity to gain those skills. You can learn it from the engineers in your team, or you can learn it from online. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's not necessary for everyone to learn these skills in school, because there are just so many resources to learn them on your own, on the job, and for free online, right? Although, I think it wouldn't hurt if you have the opportunity in your program to take a class on, an introduction to cloud computing, some introduction to software engineering, object-oriented programming. These things help. So if you can fit it into your plan of study, by all means, do it.
Dan, I think in an earlier question, you responded that Liberty Mutual has over 200 data scientists working for it. There's a question about the distribution and degree level of those 200. So do you have rough percentages for how many are doctorate versus master's versus bachelor's?
Really good question. To be honest with you, no, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would say, and Anna, please keep me honest, is that I do feel like a good majority of our data scientists probably have some sort of higher like level of education, whether that be through a master's program or a PhD. But that being said, we've also had a lot of people come like internally from the company as well. So maybe they joined us with a bachelor's degree, they've worked in like an analytics type role and then made that transition. So it's definitely like a really like large blend, I would say. But I would probably say that a good majority do probably have their graduate degree, if that sounds accurate to you, Anna.
Yeah. I think this is also this is consistent with my impression as well. Especially if you want to start as a data scientist at Liberty, usually I think people will have a master degree or a PhD degree. But if you start from other role, like some analytics role, and then develop into a data scientist, maybe you do not need to have the higher level degree. Yeah.
Nathan, do you agree that's kind of the distribution?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. So we do have some folks coming in with undergrads, but generally those people are experienced and credentialed actuaries who have done, data science and analytics work as part of their actuarial role and then transition into a full-time data science role. However, we are experimenting now, actually seeing, if some of these new data science programs can offer us undergraduates who have some of the skills they need to succeed full-time right away. And I think actually where some programs I've noticed do a good job educating is exactly what we were talking about before. So understanding cloud computing, understanding software engineering, and sort of helping bridge the gap between data scientists, data engineers, and DevOps engineers. So that might be one role in the future. We might bring on more undergraduates and call it something like operations support, data science operations support, or something like that.
We have one more question in the Q&A right now. And this person is a fourth-year PhD candidate in social psychology. They are interested in transitioning into data science after graduation. The question is, what strengths or weaknesses does a background in social psychology versus a more formal statistics or mathematics background offer someone pursuing a career in data science?
Can I just say something about it? Actually, psychology work plays a key role in many aspects of insurance industry. For example, if you have an annuity, to what extent people will take the payout earlier than not are all related to things related to all kinds of behavioral psychology and social psychology and how people mingle and how people make decisions of various types. So actually I had a number of people who were actually PhDs in psychology, and especially in terms of applications of psychology. And I think the right thing would be to think about a little bit of Tversky and Kahneman kind of stuff, which is related to really conceptual behavioral issues, which are existing in making decisions of various types, how people will make decisions. Now, I'm not sure exactly that role is exactly same as a standard data, if I may call a standard data scientist. I'm not exactly sure I would call that. But we actually, to be honest, for success, our success, it was critical to create a team. So we never had sort of just purely data science and purely something else. But any major question came around, then there were a whole bunch of people who were involved in it, including social psychology. So I just want to point out the person who is asking that whatever they have done could be very, very valuable and might be very unique compared to others who may not have that background and would be valued by others because of their background compared to a more, perhaps, a regular kind of program. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, without the, in-depth technical knowledge, I think it would be tough to get a job right away as a data scientist, but one way to work your way in the industry might be through working on an underwriting team that's looking at novel insurance products, right, where human behavior is really essential, including things like cyber, right? A lot of that is behavior-driven, phishing attacks, and all these things we've heard about. But in general, I think, there's so many resources online now, like we discussed, Kaggle, Coursera, Udemy, all these things where you can learn fundamental data science skills that can help you get a job. And, if you have a PhD, we know you're smart. If you can demonstrate through an interview and make yourself a portfolio online, right? So make yourself a GitHub account or GitLab and show us that you can do work, then you can certainly get into the insurance industry as a data scientist. I would add that I think you might struggle with pricing. So I wouldn't look at pricing roles right away because those are much more statistical in nature. But other than that, there's plenty of things you could do.
Yeah, I totally agree with point both of you have mentioned, and I think for psychology students, you may also have the opportunity to analyze some data, because sometimes you may need to do some survey, and I think this kind of analytic experience will also be relevant and it can be helpful. And with knowledge in social psychology, I think it may also be helpful for you to identify some possible important risk factors based on your knowledge when building predictive models, the professor has mentioned. So it can provide you with a unique perspective when thinking about the problem. And because you are a PhD student, so also maybe it's not the early stage, you are already fourth year, so but for early stage PhD students, I think they can always try to find research assistant positions in their school to gain some experience on working with real world data, and also solve problems with building models or doing some statistical analysis. I think that will also be really helpful for you to build your profile to become a data scientist in the future. So then I think maybe you're on mute.
Apologies, I was. You just mentioned being a research assistant. There's a question concerning how is that counted as work experience? Is that considered full-time experience when people are applying for positions?
I think because usually if the research assistant experience is relevant to data science scientist position, it include you need to build predictive models and you need to collaborate with people. I think all these will be considered as a relevant experience. It can be considered as working experience, but may not be full-time. It will be more like part-time experience, because this is the fact, right? Because working as research assistant, usually you will just work half-time, not full-time. So I mean, as long as research assistant experience is relevant to data science position, it will be considered and it will be helpful.
Yep. Actually, I know for a fact this is our policy at HSP, right? Through HR, we definitely count graduate research experience as experience. I don't know if they count it as full-time or not, but one other thing I would add is that we're trying to move. I mean, it's tough. You have to balance, the needs of HR with the needs of data science teams, but we're trying to move away from a model where we're just focused on strict experience and tenure requirements, right? We care a lot more about, can you demonstrate you can do the work? If you can do that, and at what level you can do it. If you can do that, then I don't think years of it, you need to worry too much about exceeding some years of experience threshold. We're trying to be more flexible in that area.
Do you have requirements for passing actuarial exams?
No, not at Liberty.
It can't hurt. I mean, but
unless they're being hired as actuary,
yeah,
which is a different ballgame, correct? Because then there are some legal roles which require actuaries, and actuaries have to certify certain things. So there are roles of that type. For that, definitely you do need to have, you do need to at least get on to a certain number of exams, and then continue to get to your fellow or whatever is actuarial fellow or kind of exam finally.
Once you get a little deeper into the exams, though, passing exams does show that you'll have decent insurance business knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
So it's certainly not harmful. I mean, we don't we certainly don't discourage it, nor do we really encourage it, but it would definitely help in the hiring process.
And here's another follow-up question similar to this one is, how does certifications like CFA help the role?
That's the Chartered Financial Analyst, I believe. Yeah.
Is it CFA or what did you say?
A CFA is what's
Yeah.
typed. I'm
Yeah.
in survey statistics, so I don't know.
I think it's chartered financial analyst, I believe. So credentials that are not directly insurance related will be somewhat less valuable, right? So if you have underwriting or actuarial credentials, those would be preferred over more generic financial professional certifications. Funny enough, our data science organization, for historical reasons, is actually in the finance department at HSP. So our CFO would love that. It wouldn't hurt at HSP, but in general, I think insurance credentials would be valued more than non-insurance ones.
I just want to add a little bit here about CFA. CFA are very valuable for broker community. So insurance brokers, which are really involved with all of those analysis and giving reports to their clients. So many clients would go directly to brokers, and then brokers would bring business to the insurance companies. So they could be even more valuable there than directly, as Nathan just pointed out, directly within the standard ranks of insurance companies.
What research project topics do you recommend if a student wants to prepare for a successful data science career in insurance?
I can share some opinion here. So I think it will not be limited by like which field, I mean, the data comes from or the research project comes from, as long as like, the most important part is what techniques you are using and what the data looks like, and you are using the correct method to the certain type of data. So I think this is the most important part. So the domain knowledge or like which field or industry the data comes from is not important. So as long as in that research assistant experience, you will be able to do some hands-on coding and also modeling, and also either building predictive models or doing some unsupervised modeling. So as long as like you have the opportunity to analyze the data, either based on assumption or just use machine learning models, I think that will be helpful. And if you will have the opportunity to work with some stakeholders and also communicate your model results to them, that will be also very helpful, because when you work in industry, especially insurance industry, the communication with stakeholders will be really important besides like your technical skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. Part of our interview process for many candidates, depending on the level of experience or where they're coming from, is to give a small presentation on a data science project they've done. And what we're really looking for there is, of course, we're looking at the content. Is this, are they deploying the right methods? Is this interesting data science work? But probably more than that, we're looking at their ability to explain what they've done, right? Because if you can't do that in the insurance business, you're really going to struggle to succeed, or at least grow your career beyond a junior level as a data scientist. You need to be able to work with stakeholders and explain technical things to maybe not so technical people. So yeah, I don't think it matters what the research area is as much as your ability to succinctly explain what you've done such that many people can understand it.
And we have one more question in the Q&A, and we're coming up on the half hour, so we'll stop at this one. Oh, and Anna, it looks like you're typing an answer. The question is referral important to get a call for an interview at Liberty Mutual? But Nathan, I'm going to direct that one to you as well, since you're also here from your company.
So because like Dan is from the recruiting team, he may be able to answer this better, but I can tell you like about like my own experience. So I think referral is not a must or like it like at Liberty, because for myself, I didn't ask for a referral from like the previous employee. I applied myself and I got the call. So I think maybe the most important part is about the qualification and also your experience. So maybe Dan can speak more about this.
Yeah, I think you summarized it perfectly. And I mean, I think a referral at any company helps if you have someone on the inside that can, get your resume in front of the right person. So it certainly doesn't, hurt you. But yeah, definitely, I think qualifications obviously being the most important factor for that.
Yeah, here's where I actually have quite a different answer, and I think it's a function of the size of our company. So Munich Re is big, HSB is small to medium size in terms of insurance companies, right? It's mid-sized. So we don't have as big an HR apparatus as Liberty Mutual, right? So for us, referral carries a lot more weight, right? And we actually prefer to hire through our network. So there's a group of universities we work with, through the New England Statistical Society, and conferences we attend, because it just relieves a lot of the HR burden on us, right? We just don't have as much resources to put into the vetting process. So if someone is coming from a trusted source, like a faculty member at a university we know, or former employees or current employees, we tend to prefer to hire from that group, and we've had really good success hiring referrals in that sense. It doesn't necessarily need to be like someone who works at HSB, like I said, but faculty member that we've worked with in the past or trusted. So I think it depends on the size and type of company where you're applying.
Well, I will just tell everyone again, thank you so much for everyone that came, and to our presenters. This was very informative.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.